Yeah.
To go back a little bit though, last time you were here with your girl, you guys walked
Your
over.
woman. Your old
lady, and she sat with us. It was like August, I think it was. It was before we went to. Kentucky. It was like late summer.
Okay.
You guys like went for a walk and just came over and hung out.
Not doing the show, just for
you came on a little bit, but then you guys left.
I remember that night. Yeah.
Yeah, but she, I was just explaining to her about, and she's like, "You have to go. You have to go and get checked out. You have to."
I remember that because she's like, "How old are you?" And then you say your age. You're like, "Oh my god, yeah, go."
Yeah.
You're so old.
She was adamant. She's like, something is really wrong.
But she literally said the words colon cancer.
Yes. And I'm like, oh, no. I think it's just a hernia.
And he listened to her eventually and went to the
on January 3rd.
Yeah, like 6 months later.
Yeah.
On January 3rd, I finally I said, okay, well, I'm supposed to go back to work today after being off for the holidays. I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to go.
What was your pain level at that point where you finally went to the doctor?
I did that. The last show I did
was bent over in pain. He couldn't even move.
It was it'll get better tomorrow level.
I was I was doing the show. We did a show like we did it from home, remote.
The New Year's stream.
Yeah.
And I was holding up pretty well, but like I was dying inside sitting in that fucking chair, man. And so
can relate.
Yeah, I was in bad shape by that point.
So since I haven't been here in a while, you probably are going to repeat a bunch of shit you've already said in here. But like, so when did you notice the first symptoms that something was wrong? Like from the beginning.
Okay, so like initially when all that started, it was after I quit drinking. It was like a couple months later I started getting a little pull. So we're talking like 2.5 years ago.
Oh, so how long did they think you had?
Well, I took him to the emergency room in December of 20.
Yeah. No, 19.
19.
That was,
December of 19.
That was right after I got out of jail.
That was like pre-COVID.
And
and I think I had just taken you like just before that.
Yeah, Brian was.
I got both them off with the
Brian's the only reason we have a show.
Yeah, that was in September. It was after I got out of jail.
Yeah, that's right.
I went down the street to this shithole down here, and they dismissed everything I said and said, "Oh, well, you're just full of poop. You got to go home and clean out, and then call a doctor, call a gastro doctor." So when I called a gastro doctor, they basically said, I talked to him, was going to set up an appointment. Then when I scheduled an appointment, then I talked to the lady, called me about something, and then they didn't find anything significant in my exam, in my whatever they did the
MRI or
and so it was going to cost me out of pocket. I said, "Fuck you, I got insurance." She's like, "Well, yeah, but you're." At that point, they weren't doing it as young as 45, and the insurance was covering it. It was still like 47 or 48.
They never seen no Black Panther before?
Yeah.
And I just said, well, I'm not paying for that. Screw that. It's like $10,000 or something like that. So I'm not paying for this. Screw you. So I just ignored it. I said, it's a fucking hernia. Why am I? It didn't even hurt that much, but it progressively. But last year, I went on day shift, so it was probably about May. It started getting really bad. And it was to the point where I would have to take a nap at lunch halfway through my day. I had to sleep. I didn't eat. And
were you keeping all this to yourself at the time, or were you?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, I'd kind of explained it a little bit that I was like, in pain, but I was going to get it checked out. I was going to finally go or whatever. I just never did. And well, eventually, but yeah, so that's when it's really started bad. And they were asking me in the hospital, "Have you seen any blood in your stool?" And I said, "No." And they're like, "Is it black?" I go, "Oh, yeah."
Oh, yeah, that's
like,
normal.
They're like, I go, "Oh, yeah." I go, "Yeah." I only go like every 4 days, and it's jet black.
Ooh.
And they're like,
eat black licorice all the time.
And they're like,
drink Mountain Dew pitch black.
They're like, "Did you think that anything was wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure something was wrong. I didn't think it was going to be as wrong as what you're about to tell me, because I knew what they were going to tell me at that point. I didn't want to believe it, but
Yeah, what's the comedian Jim Jeffries talked about that? He's like, you don't want to have black stool, but if you have red stool, that just means that the blood is coming from closer to the anus hole,
right.
And that just means you probably ate some bad fucking spicy food, or you pour your ass open or something.
Yeah. Like, I've heard that before, because I've heard guys say like
you
they
can
got
eat
hemorrhoids.
You can eat Oreos and scare yourself to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've heard guys, "Oh, you know what else? I used to
Pepto.
back in the day,
Pepto will turn your shit black.
when I was with my
Bismuth.
ex, when I was with Rachel, we used to drink box wine, the red wine.
Yeesh.
That shit makes your turds black as fuck.
Was it Mountain Dew pitch black that turns your shit black, or did it turn it like green?
I don't drink.
It wasn't you. It was Tom. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't drink that shit.
I don't either.
So basically, I got to the. Yeah, I knew it was bad. I had to take a nap every single day. About right after we came back from Kentucky, I got sick. Not COVID, but I just got a cold, and I lost 10 pounds in like 3 days, like that.
Really?
And I never gained it back.
Interesting.
And I started dropping weight like crazy after that.
When
I went into the hospital, I was 121 pounds.
Jesus.
In the middle of September, I was 160 pounds.
Q Angel of Death played an Auschwitz line.
So can they tell you, like in a rough estimate,
be
when the
respectful,
cancer
man.
started?
sorry.
Well, I told them that I started feeling that pulling in like July of 2019, and if I thought it was a hernia, and they said that it could have been started then, but they were thinking more along the lines of like probably 6 to 8 months before that.
Wow.
And at that time, I was a raging drunk, so I wouldn't have like paid
Because that's the thing
attention
that's
to
fucked
that
up
anyway.
too. You can have like pains, and you can like disregard a pain, but when the pain starts being accompanied with like legitimate sickness,
Yeah, there was-
then it's like worrisome.
that's when it got to.
Well,
when
then you know you're out of the woods, and
I knew something was really wrong about May. I didn't know what. I thought maybe it was the gallbladder going bad, or it was cancer. I thought it was one of two things. I go, I either got a fucking tumor somewhere right here in this area, not this area, not this area, right here, or it's the gallbladder.
oh,
I want to get a colonoscopy just because that shit runs in my family. And
Me and Craig have to get him now because our doctor wants us because
Yeah,
of
because
him.
they told
your
me.
doctor, my doctor's like, oh, you don't need that shit. I'm like, I'm trying to tell you that I fucking want it, and like, the whole purpose was like preventative medicine.
It is.
And
well, they don't make money off you till you're sick.
Most
True.
insurances now they've dropped the age again, but it's 45 still, unless somebody in your family has had it.
I think with a fucking
aunt died at 50. Grandpa had it. Another
Colon
aunt
cancer?
had it. Yeah.
Oh, then you
Well,
are.
you should be then.
You
Ooh.
have you told your doctor that?
you better go.
This is where you're like, oh, you're lucky because you can go. Yeah, I told him people in my family. I didn't get specific with them.
If you tell him your grandpa or your aunt, that's like an immediate family member. They will tell. He'll tell. If he doesn't tell.
oh,
you
he
to go
gave me the referral,
Uh-huh.
and when I looked into where to go, the places that he gave me the referral to make it sound like I'd still have to pay, other than my insurance.
Oh,
That's insane because you have a family history. Well, basically,
I didn't-
I have a
do you know when
PPO.
your
I can.
do you know
I
when your
pay,
grandfather
if I pay
had
a certain
it?
amount, I don't
Like
have to
how
pay
old
no
he was?
more.
He was old, but he didn't die because of that. But my aunt died at 50 in about 2000 because
From
of that.
colon cancer.
Yeah, she had the bag and,
and it's
everything.
like your
beforehand.
mom's.
dad's
Your
Wait,
dad's
she died
sister?
at she died at 50.
yeah.
So obviously she had it before that.
So you should.
Yeah.
You should
So
be able
anytime
to.
there's somebody under 50 in your family who gets something like that, they almost automatically want you to. That's why they're doing
Like
it because
10 years
he's under
yeah.
50.
Yeah.
Basically, anybody in our family now, at 39 years old or older, can get one. It won't cost anything.
I mean,
But I did the genetic testing, the genetic counseling and stuff because I
Yeah.
wanted to see if I had a mutated gene, which I don't. I was told I have very good genes, surprisingly. So
like Wrangler or
yeah.
Levi?
Not trying to be disrespectful,
Wrestlers.
but was it just the hardcore drinking?
you
Fried
know,
it.
basically, it wasn't familial. It wasn't hereditary. So they say it's environmental. It's environment, lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's all these things packed in together. So drinking like a fish, eating whatever I wanted my whole life. I mean,
They
you know,
say that, but then there's people that don't drink at all that get like.
oh yeah,
Well, I mean,
but
genetic-
are they eating
genetics are-
processed foods all
Yeah.
the time?
But
you know?
genetics too.
It's not
determine
really
a lot.
it's not really necessarily the drinking. It's just everything. I lived like I basically turned my body into a cesspool for 30 years. I put whatever I wanted in it, and I didn't give a shit. You know, I chain smoked for 35 years. I mean, so I did all these things. I mean, I lived on taquitos every day, walking into 7-Eleven or wherever and driving.
There's nothing wrong with taquitos at all.
you know,
I haven't had one in like 7 months.
Jay Morgan loved them fucking things, man.
Yeah, he did.
Anything on the rollers at 7-Eleven that fucking guy would eat.
yeah,
Well, yeah,
of
'cause they're cheap.
course.
You'd be better off eating
and-
McDonald's than those.
My favorite part of the day was, and they stopped doing it, when you can go in there and get taquitos, and they were not 4 for $5, but 5 for $4.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Ugh.
It's like
Yeah.
You know, those things actually hurt. They hurt on the way down. You can feel it.
Well, you have to chew them.
And they
For
hurt.
raking your sides.
You can't just
you
bite
know,
them in half and swallow.
Those were like the most convenient thing.
I happen to know that you can press it against the roof of your mouth.
Palatability.
I would drink like a fish and then go and stop and buy those and chow them on the way home. You know.
Yeah,
and then wonder why what it was.
Yeah.
Everything I ate was just going right back out.
Yeah.
You know, for years.
You were thin though.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, Jay was talking about, why do some people do, there's
Yeah.
genetics determine a lot. My mom stopped smoking, and her 20 years ago, and her lungs are paper mache. She can't breathe.
Yeah.
My dad still smokes constantly. His lungs are fine.
Well, that's
and your dad's been smoking for like
Since
50
he was 9 years old.
Yeah.
He was
Over
9.
50 years.
That's another thing too with me is like, so they removed 2.5 feet of colon because I had like a 13 centimeter tumor.
2.5 feet.
Pretty close to
Dude,
it.
a 13 centimeter is huge.
Yeah, it's about the size of a softball,
I
a
got 13
good size
centimeter
softball. So they took 16
Right
lymph
about
nodes.
like that right there.
They took They took all those out. 16 lymph nodes. There was no cancer in any of them. It hadn't spread. That's why I was stage 2. It hasn't spread anywhere. And then they did all these, CAT scans of my whole body to see if there's anything anywhere else. And so when they sat down with me and showed me all these scans, like my liver is like, well, the one doctor said that's transplant material.
Wait, what do you mean?
like his liver's really
My
good.
liver,
good.
my liver
Okay.
completely healed.
Not like he
Yeah,
needs a transplant.
You made it sound like you were Mickey Mantle there.
No,
I need a new
he
liver
said
right
that's-
now.
He said that's transplant material. We would use that in somebody.
And then you fucking put a rag of ether on you, and then you never woke up again.
You wake up in a bathtub in Tijuana.
Some fucking
I took
chic in Dubai
I just
has your
started
liver.
laughing, and he's like, "What?" I go, "Dude, I drank like a fish for like fucking 30 fucking plus years, man. He goes, I'm telling you, he goes, you said you were a smoker too. I go, yeah, for like 36 years. He's like, your lungs are completely clear.
Jesus.
Did you ever inhale?
I could smoke once. Watch, I'm going to smoke once, and I'm going to get cancer.
Yeah.
And
It's gonna
the only problem with my kidneys is there's one little fat globule with a kidney stone, a cyst and a kidney stone. That's it.
Wow.
And I have a kidney stone, or I have a gallstone that's just sitting in there.
I have a
It's not bothering
super
me.
irrational fear. I guess it's not
I have
irrational.
tonsil stones.
Is of kidney stones. Like just the thought of it just makes
I've
me like
passed
so
2
uneasy.
of them. I passed 2
Do you
of
drink a
them.
lot of caffeine, Jay?
None.
Then don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I do drink coffee, but I don't.
I haven't had caffeine in probably fucking 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, I don't drink pop. I do drink a little bit of coffee, and
I
I
haven't
drink
had
a little
green
bit of tea.
beans in a year.
Really? Green beans are good.
It's the most random thing.
Green beans are good when you cook them with bacon fat.
We're talking about our elimination diets here.
Well,
I don't mind green beans, but nothing fucks up a pot pie more than green beans.
I have never had a pot pie with green
I've
beans.
had it with peas. I've never had it with
Peas,
peas.
I've had them
carrots,
with green beans.
Peas, carrots,
Wow.
potatoes.
You could skip the peas on it too, to be honest with you.
Right,
No,
but
actually, I
that's-
like the peas.
My favorite
That's been pot pies for me.
my favorite thing about a pot pie is handing it to someone else because they're fucking disgusting.
The best part's that crust with all that saturated
I would
fat.
eat the crust.
Not
That's
the top,
it.
not
when
the
I was
top
a
crust, but the bottom crust with all the
when I was a
Yeah.
kid, I would just flip the crust off, and take the innards out, and eat the
So
crust.
you didn't like the rubbery chicken
Yeah.
chunks?
I'm
telling
you're
you,
eating snot.
That pot pie you can
Fucking
get at Costco is
These
pretty
polyps
good.
taste good.
So
Fucking
so
gross.
during the week this week, I go and meet with my radiation oncologist,
Yeah.
and he comes in.
You did
and he's-
blood work yesterday, right?
Yeah, and he's the guy who showed me all the CAT scans when I first met him, and I made my first appointment,
Mm-hmm.
or I made my appointment with him that time. That was like 2 months ago. So he comes in, and he's a really quirky dude. I like him. He's funny too. And he comes in, he goes, "Alan." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "How the hell are you?" I'm like, "Good." He goes, "I got a question for you." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "Are you a superhuman?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "What's your secret?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I've never seen anybody's hemoglobin levels go up 3 points in 2 fucking weeks." He goes, and before that it was 1.5 points in 2 weeks.
So what
He's
would
like,
what would make it do that?
I'm just eating really healthy, and I take, on top of the regular vitamin C I get every day,
Bone broth.
I take I take 1 vitamin C 1,000 milligrams every other day to help with iron absorption.
Well, that was a lot better than I thought. I thought he was going to say, "Alan, are you superhuman? Are you ready for some rads?
Would you like superpowers?
You're going to need them."
Yeah.
Have you heard of gamma radiation?
So the moral of your story is that if you treat your body like shit for decades, but then you course correct and go over the top and do things really good the other way, you'll notice a difference.
Well, it's like religion. You do a bunch of shit, and then later on just ask for forgiveness, and you're absolved.
Well,
Yes.
Works
it
perfectly.
works.
you hadn't seen me in a while, but Tommy saw me
Oh yeah,
5 days before I went to the hospital,
he was walking through Costco.
and he asked my brother, "Is something wrong? Your brother is sick."
Thought you were on drugs or
Oh,
something.
he thought I was sick.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
He was like legitimately freaked out by my appearance.
I did see you the one time because you guys did the podcast from all your own homes, and I was commenting on it
when I
was
first
home.
came up, when I first came back or got out of the hospital, or
Yeah, because you were talking about nodding off and shit, and
Yeah.
like I fucking fall asleep sitting here.
Yeah.
well, you're ruining my show.
yeah,
Wake
yeah,
up.
that was, dude. I literally had just had like, my innards all like flayed out, and cut open, put back. I mean, yeah, like I was home I was home one day. I did the first.
Yeah, because you had just come home, and
I came home on a Friday.
yeah, because Danielle had finished her surgery and was home the day before.
And I did that show, and I only did like an hour of it. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm like fucking,
Yeah.
because like at that point, I would, if I talked too much, I would start like losing my voice, like lose, because my whole body was just really weak, I mean, obviously. So
What about the pain from just the incision to?
dude, when they cut me, when they took that out, I had
Did
some
you see
pain.
the picture of the incision?
I saw the
It's fucking gnarly.
I saw the Quato fucking
The Quato.
Yeah, I didn't see the
Quato
incision
ribs.
though.
No, the incision
Yeah.
was pretty bad. It looks
the
like
incisions,
it looks like he. Remember, you
it's
just said about
you
somebody.
can't really see it.
They removed Krang
You,
from him.
you falling asleep and you wake up with a scar because they took your liver or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That was the kind of scar, like somebody
it's
just
like,
took a knife.
It's like this long.
Like 9 inches or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 9 inches.
But 9 inches. Benign.
Benign
Or 10.
inches.
Benign or 10.
Well, I had the hernia surgery, and I had a 4 or 5 inch incision, like right above my dick, like on my mons or whatever, your pubic area, and that
Your
shit
fupa.
fucking
Well,
hurts.
I had
Your fupa.
I had like a 4-inch scar from my appendix from when I was
Yeah.
15. And he told me that like my colon, like where it perforated was right there, like where the tumor perforated through, and it was stuck to that fucking scar from the inside, the scar tissue. He's like, it was a hell of a time getting that fucker out. It was supposed to be a 6-hour surgery, and it took. He said he thought it would be less than that, but it took every minute.
Well, they
of
don't
it.
want people out for much longer than that.
No, but I actually saw him yesterday when I was getting my blood work. I wasn't supposed to see him. I just saw him walking, going to lunch, and I talked to him, and he's a great guy.
You're gonna get a bill just for seeing him and talking to him.
Yep. That's a virtual appointment. Sorry.
But the
$25.
so basically, yeah, when I first got out, I mean, well, when they took it out, I woke up in recovery.
Yeah.
And I mean, the scar hurt, for a couple weeks. It was tender, but once I got the staples out, I didn't really.
I don't even mean the scar. I just mean like you got something taken out of you,
It hurt.
even though it's something bad.
It
It's still
hurt.
out of you. Like there's just
But
lots of cuts and
There was
They're
so
still
much.
settling and stuff
I
too.
had so much pain. That was another thing too. They told me 80% of people have a colonoscopy, a shit sack, after they have it, after they have a colectomy. He said about 80% have them, and about 80% of them, it's permanent.
Ugh.
I didn't have one.
So 80% of the 80%.
They were able, to put me back. He said he couldn't believe how easily I just kind of went back together and didn't have any issues with it.
there's just fucking like duct tape and zip
Yeah,
ties and shit
right.
inside of you.
I mean, I don't want to give you a complex or anything, but that just kind of maybe that superhuman thing is right.
Yeah, it
So
could be.
Don't
I
get
know.
full of yourself.
I'm not.
Is this like Unbreakable, but
I'm
about
not.
just shitting?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got an invincible colon.
But when I woke up in the recovery room, I was high as fuck. Obviously when they first wheeled me out, I woke up and I was like laughing and goofy. I was fucking goofy as fuck. When I came off of that, when that shit all like wore off, I felt like it was gone. I felt like this whole relief of like this whole area.
That's
like,
crazy, man.
and I started crying because like I was so emotional about like, oh my god, oh this pain is fucking gone. Because I mean, this pain was 2.5 fucking years, you know,
Yeah.
in the making. And I'm like, it's gone. And I got really emotional for a minute. And they thought I was, these two like nurses in there were like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. I just told them I was emotional. Like they just cut this all out of me. And they're like, well, you know, you had it. I go, yeah, I was in pain for a long fucking time, you know.
Do they bring it to you in like a little blanket?
No,
so you
that
can
would've
see
been
like
cool
a little
as
baby.
fuck.
Can I see it,
That would have
please?
been cool as fuck, man. I was like, can I take that home with me?
Put it in a little jar.
Yeah.
Send that shit to Mars.
Yeah.
Mars.
My ex-wife, when her dad had the lung removed, he had the tumor removed from his lung, and he had a whole lung removed. He wanted to.
Can't scuba.
He wanted them to put it in a jar. He wanted them to put the tumor in a jar. He wanted to take it around to schools and show people what happens when you smoke cigarettes all your life.
Wow.
And they're like, no, you can't have it.
That's some sick.
Why can't you have it?
I don't know. They told me you couldn't
It's
have
some kind of medical thing.
It
You're
was
not allowed to do that.
yours.
Yeah,
It's not like your tires about tires. You don't just
Well,
give it back to you if
here's
you want
my
'em.
thing. Okay, we'll take the tumor out of it, but give me my fucking colon back, man. Fuck you.
Yeah.
That was mine. I was born with that.
Your colon bowel.
Yeah.
Colon bowel.
Ball.
Yeah, my colon
Why
bowel.
they name